Husband, 37M, accused me, 35F, of having a porn addiction. My husband, 37M, and I, 35F, got married about 2 years ago, shortly before the pandemic hit. We've both had a very rough time during those couple years, due to losing multiple family members to COVID and both having jobs that got more stressful, demanding. Despite all these stresses, we have managed to maintain a really high-quality sex life, about 4 to 5 times a week or sometimes more, with sex that is fun, creative and highly satisfying to both of us. Our marriage has also otherwise been great, with excellent communication, lots of non-sexual affection, and support for each other through the stresses. At least until about a week ago. My husband and I both like to read quite a bit. However, we tend to read during our commutes or lunch breaks and not so much at home, so that we can spend more interactive quality time together when we both have free time. We don't usually spend a lot of time discussing what we are reading. I know he likes books about history and spy novels, but at any given time I probably couldn't tell you what he is reading. We both read on Kindle and have separate accounts from before we were married. Unless there is an especially interesting book he brings up. I will admit I like to read romances that have an erotic component, at least within certain parameters. I don't read any books that glorify adultery or other cheating, and most of what I read involves hot monogamy and committed relationships. That being said, there are a lot of explicit scenes. I will also admit that I do use the books to keep my personal spark alive and bring that back to my husband. I don't fantasize about being with other men, but often do get ideas for positions, role-play scenarios, lingerie I could wear, etc. With all the family deaths and work, pandemic stress, it would have been really easy to let my libido get smothered, but the books have helped remind me to prioritize intimacy with my husband and have provided some ideas for how to do that when I have been too stressed and exhausted to come up with my own ideas from scratch. My husband happened to see my reading list last week and, much to my surprise, went ballistic, said I was hiding a porn addiction from him and ranted at me for hours before storming out. Then he went and told our family members and several close friends about my addiction. I am just flabbergasted because they're just books. Books I don't read during time we are otherwise supposed to be spending together, and that actually help my sense of sexuality. Also, we don't have any particular restrictions on actual porn in our relationship anyway. Neither of us is much into visual porn, but we've never prohibited it with each other. Unfortunately, the people he told now think I am spending hours a day watching porn and ignoring my husband, and aren't believing me that my addiction is just mainstream romance novels that I read during time that would otherwise be wasted. Husband has given me an ultimatum to get treatment, 12-step program, therapy, or even rehab for my porn addiction, or he will divorce me. I want to be sensitive to his feelings, but I don't think I addicted or doing anything wrong here. I could give up the books, but then I just wonder what harmless thing he is going to demand I give up next. I really do love him and want our marriage to work. Though, what should I do? Info. In case anyone is wondering if this is a money issue. It isn't. We pool most of our money in joint accounts, but each have an allotment to personal accounts for our own spending money. The money for my books comes out of my personal account, so it's not taking anything away from my husband or our household expenses. TLDR. Husband found out I like to read erotic romances, then accused me of being a porn addict, and is demanding I get treatment for this or he will divorce me. That's massive overreaction and reeks of projection. Most people don't go announcing their spouse's actual addiction to everyone that will listen because they're usually too ashamed to admit what kind of marital problems they're having. My ex was an alcoholic for pretty much all of our 16-year relationship. Yes, I ignored the red flags. He was also a porn addict. No one knew about it except 2 of my friends that lived out of town and never saw him. When I finally hit rock bottom, I gave him an ultimatum. He needed to get professional help and it could no longer be a secret. He's the one that told people. When he was in rehab for 90 days, our close friends and family knew, but I wasn't really telling anyone else. Since the divorce, I don't care anymore about being discreet about it. But most of us keep that info to ourselves, especially when people are in active addiction, but also during recovery, because it's the addict's story to tell, so to speak. All that to say that something doesn't add up here. This is a major overreaction. Stress or not, that's no excuse. Forgot to say that your reading preference has nothing to do with addiction at all. Mindless smut books are a nice way to distress. My sister used to read romance novels a lot, and then when she started studying Italian, she started reading them in Italian since it's easy to figure out what's going on. Sounds like an absurd overreaction. Almost to the point that it's not believable. You have sex 5 times a week and he wants to divorce you because you read racy romance novels on the way to work? Sure, there's not something else. Some deeper issue? Take him to couples counseling and explain the situation. Watch as the counselor looks at him and asks, "Are you fucking stupid?" Then be done with this whole thing. A porn addiction would involve watching hours upon hours of porn, masturbating profusely, and it getting in the way of personal time, quality time and family time, or even work. Or in your case, it would involve reading these books multiple hours a day, masturbating excessively, and the same problems, it getting in the way of quality time, personal time, work, family time, etc. Seriously. Take his ass to couples counseling and bring along your material and show your counselor. Then make him apologize. He took a problem that isn't an issue, for one thing, made it an issue, then told everyone and embarrassed you. That's completely unacceptable and just downright mean. I don't know if I have advice, but if you're feeling like you've been unfairly treated in all this, I can absolutely validate that from what you've described here. This kind of reaction is not in any way proportionate to what you've done. And in no way am I suggesting you've done anything wrong. You haven't. If anything, he has a big apology to make for telling everyone your private affairs and gaslighting you. Man, that's not cool at all. Wait, what? Your husband not only ridiculously thinks you have a porn addiction because you read erotic novels on your commute, but he told everyone you know about it? What good was that supposed to do? I find this a huge breach of trust. Also, you can start a detox program. It will go quite fast, as the first meeting with a specialist will confirm that you are, in fact, not an addict. Detox complete. How are your books any different than books about how to spice up your sex life? You said it yourself, you use them for ideas in you and your husband's sex life? Honestly, if he's threatening to go nuclear on the marriage because of something like this, maybe he's up to no good and projecting. WTF. Honestly, you may go through with a divorce. The way he reacted was absolutely nuts. The way he exposed you and freaked out shows a lot of immaturity. You need to make it clear to your family and friends that your husband freaked out over books. Take your husband to couples counseling. Whoa. Divorce? Over books? Dude is wicked, projecting or totally searching for a reason to get you out of the way. If this is his genuine no bullshit belief, He's got screws loose and you ought to consider taking your half and leaving. A 12-step program for books? GTFO. Get a pie to check him out. This is a classic misdirection campaign to shift all blame to you before he starts his newfound relationship post-divorce. My gut reaction is that he's cheating. This is just bizarre. You're not a porn addict and he should appreciate you for what you bring to your sex life. Something is up with him. Maybe he's having an affair. Maybe he is massively fragile and his ego can't handle the idea that you are getting erotic enjoyment from a book. I would offer him a counterproposal. Marriage counseling for both of you or divorce. You need to get to the bottom of this BS. I also enjoy reading romance novels off and on throughout the 10 years I've been married, and my husband has made the odd comment about them being no different than porn, which actually rather infuriated me, as it is hardly more graphic than the nudity and scenes in common TV series that he watches. However, the novels I read mostly promote healthy love and intimacy between partners. I feel exactly as you've described, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I feel it's a compliment to our love life. He could possibly have some sort of crazy traumatic background with it to have such a strong reaction, but I would be livid if my husband violated my privacy by telling our friends and family something like that. At this point, he has seriously wronged you and you should bring that to his attention. I'd agree with talking to a counselor because of his off-the-wall reaction. Your husband's response to your reading habits is bonkers. And that's not even the bad part. Then he went and told our family members and several close friends about my addiction. This is a complete betrayal of trust, honestly. I don't think there's any coming back from this. I would be done with him for this alone. Your husband is batshit confused face. I recommend showing him this post as a clear descriptor as what you're feeling and your perspective on the matter. From there, I agree with the rest of the comments to see a counselor together on the matter. If neither of those help, something may be amidst with him with such a hyperbolic reaction. My Bill did this to my sister, getting crazily mad about her reading romance novels. It's been a sad descent into an extremely abusive relationship since. Google says there are 29 million romance book readers. 84% are women. So I'd say this is pretty common. I enjoy them. Your husband is massively shaming you for your sexuality and it will completely dry up your sex life. Whether he intended that or not. Your husband's immediate reaction was to tell everyone you knew about it and turn them against you. Please think about that for a moment. You seem oblivious to how big that red flag is and what it could mean for your future. If your set life is healthy, then what exactly makes him feel threatened? You should ask him. What's he worried is going to happen? No, he didn't. I read those kinda books too. I feel so attacked. Tears of joy, but seriously. He flipped out and called it a porn addiction. So wrong. Sheesh. IDK, what to say? Wow. Not only is he mentally stupid but ruined your trust telling people your private business, but disrespected you by flying off the handle. Tell him to read my comment because he's just too dumb to understand basic logic.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.